Look at the floor plan of your home. Is it a perfect square or rectangle, or is it shaped like an L? Is there a corner cut out? You see, in modern architecture, we think a non-square floor plan is just a design choice. The house is fully functional. You have your kitchen, your bedroom, your living room, but in classical feng shui, your house is not an empty box. It is a living grid that maps directly on your physical body and even your destiny. So if your floor plan is missing a corner, it is not just an architectural quirk, it is really an energetic amputation. So today we're going to look at what happens when your house is actively starving your life. And I'm going to tell you the story of a woman whose missing southeast sector was quietly destroying her ability to be loved. To understand this, you need to understand the compass. So in Chinese metaphysics, the compass doesn't just show north, south, east, and west. It is divided into cardinal sectors that house the 12 earthly branches, the zodiac animals of Chinese astrology. These animals don't just represent time, they represent space as well, and they map exactly to the 12 main meridians in your physical body. When a sector is missing from your floor plan, the energy of that specific area of life is drained from your reality. If your personal sector is missing, for example, you will feel like a ghost in your own home, unable to put down roots. If the wealth sector is missing, you will constantly be missing out on career and business opportunities. And if the sector holding specific earthly branches is missing, you are starving the corresponding physical organs of their necessary voltage. Let me tell you about Aileen. Aileen sat in my clinic struggling with a dual diagnosis. Physically, her digestion was a wreck. She suffered from loose stools, and whenever she ate carbohydrates or raw foods, she would bloat painfully. Emotionally, she was exhausted. She was a chronic people pleaser, and she struggled to attract the right partners. And when she did, she found it utterly impossible to set boundaries. She confessed to me that she was shying away from dating entirely lately because she didn't feel she had the luxury of being authentic. She felt if she spoke her truth, people would leave her. We looked at her bazi, we treated her with acupuncture, but at some point we hit a wall. So I pulled up the floor plan of her house, and for Aileen, her relationship sector happened to be located in the southeast. And her house was completely missing the southeast sector. It was an L shape, and that piece of the house was simply not there. Here's where the math of the universe becomes breathtaking. The southeast sector also contains two very specific earthly branches, the dragon and the snake. In the physical body, the dragon corresponds to the stomach meridian and the snake corresponds to the spleen. And these two comprise the earth element. Aileen was missing her earth element. In Chinese medicine, the spleen and stomach provide the heavy, grounding stability we need to digest our food. But they also provide the energetic stability we need to digest our reality and speak our truth and hold our ground. Aileen was incapable of holding a boundary in her relationships because the energetic grid of her environment was literally pulling the ground out from under her feet. Because Aileen lived in a house and not an apartment, we had a physical solution. You cannot build onto a rented apartment, but with a house, you can actually build up the missing sector. So I advised Aileen to physically complete that part of the floor plan, and she built a beautiful glass conservatory, a patio, exactly where that missing southeast corner was. And she re-anchored her earth. The results were rapid. Her digestion settled, and she suddenly found it easier to connect with potential partners. And for the first time in her life, she became highly verbal about what she wanted. She stopped people pleasing. But then something fascinating happened. Aileen came back to my clinic a few months later, and she was angry. She was feeling surges of frustration and irritation and fury. And whenever your life is missing a piece, whether it is health, visibility, or wealth, your overall structure is unstable. You're held back. And when you lack stability, you unconsciously suppress your liver and gallbladder. The wood element, the energy of change, force, confrontation. You swallow your anger because you know your foundation is not stable enough to survive the turmoil of a fight. But by completing the grid of her house, Aileen finally had enough earth beneath her feet to feel safe. And because she finally felt safe, years of repressed anger could finally rise to the surface to force real change. You see, healing is not always peaceful. Sometimes healing means finally having the strength to be furious. Next week, we're going to talk about exactly what happened to Aileen. We're going to explore where your anger goes to hide when you swallow it, and how it turns into migraines or joint pain or autoimmune diseases. So until next week, look at the shape of your home, look at your floor plan, and let it sink in that maybe, just maybe, the areas of your life where you feel the most empty, the most unfulfilled, might actually correspond exactly to the parts of your house that simply aren't there.